On Sunday, in Atlanta, Georgia, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke gave a speech at the annual meeting of the American Economic Association. The subject of his speech, monetary policy and the housing bubble. Many commentators have blamed the Fed for inflating the housing bubble, which led to the subsequent bust and the nasty recession we all just went through. But in this speech, Bernanke denies any blame for the Fed. He says that monetary policy from 2002 to 2006 was not that accommodative based on the Taylor rule if you substitute forecasted inflation for current inflation. This despite the fact that Greenspan lowered the Fed funds rate to 1% in June of 2003 and held it there for a full year all the way to June 2004. Totally unprecedented in the 100-year history of the Fed. Bernanke goes on to argue that the real culprits of the housing bubble were the banks and lending institutions. They lowered their lending standards, they gave mortgages to people who didn't deserve them, and that's the primary cause for the bust. Why did this happen? Why has it not happened before? No answer to that. The second reason is a savings glut in emerging markets, which channeled into industrialized economies such as the United States, kept long-term interest rates low. But the basic thrust of the argument is the Fed is not responsible. It wasn't our fault. It was the bankers. It was China. We did everything right. We can't be blamed. For me, reading the speech, it was just really, really astounding because it just reads like such a slick piece of sophistry. And I personally find it hard to believe that Bernanke actually believes this himself. I'm not sure that he does. But what he's trying to do, obviously, is exculpate himself and Greenspan from any of the problems that we just went through. And of course, Bernanke is doing the same thing now, so it can't be that this is what caused it. Otherwise, what are we setting in motion right now? So, economist Thomas Woods has a really different perspective, and in his book Meltdown, Chapter 1, The Elephant in the Living Room, he writes this: almost nobody in Washington, and precious few elsewhere, has been willing to question the greatest single government intervention in the economy and the institution whose fingerprints are all over our current crisis. America's central bank, the Federal Reserve System. So take that, Ben Bernanke.